Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Moods, Minds, and Manifestations podcast, featuring real people, real experiences, and real talk. And I'm your host, Mocha. So let's get into it. So my guest today is top G social media influencer, Miss Gabby Murray. Welcome, Gabby. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm doing well, thanks. I know you're super busy, and I've been wanting to reach out to you for a while to do this podcast. So I'm glad that you're able to make some time to talk to me today.
Of course.
So I reached out to you because I feel it's been really sad to see so many influencers succumbing to pressures of social media and their mental health struggles. And I thought you, being as successful as you are as an influencer, would be the perfect person to give advice on the ins and outs and the highs and lows of the industry. And maybe your insight can help others safely and successfully navigate the industry. So let's just start a little bit from the beginning. I've known you since you were a wee little lass.
I know. It's crazy.
Our families met through martial arts in Florida.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sensei Dennis and Team Extreme in North Palm Beach, Florida.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And you and my daughter Cornelia were the dynamic duo there back in the day.
Yes.
So funny that you're all grown up now.
Those days.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
How old were you back then when you started?
8, I believe.
Yeah, okay, 8. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And now I'm 22, about to be 23, which is kind of insane.
It's insane.
Like,
it's insane. Life. And you went all the way to 2nd degree black belt, right?
Yes.
So don't mess with Gabby or she'll kick your butt. Don't mess with her. All right, so when exactly did you start on social media?
I started pretty young. I want to say I was probably, I would say 6th grade.
Which is what age?
Like middle school.
Okay.
So I think I was like 12.
Okay, wow. You kind of got into it just for fun, or did you get into it thinking, I want to be an influencer, I want to have a following?
I really did it for fun. I've always been one to be very creative, which I'm sure you know. Mm-hmm. And I just really thought, how cool is it to be able to make content or just make videos, right? Like to try and entertain people on a phone. Mm-hmm. So I really did it for fun because I had so much fun with it and with no intention of it becoming obviously my job. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, even back then, like, you know, as a 12-year-old doing it for fun, like you're not really thinking about the future in terms of, you know, I had my, you know, future like planned with college. Right. Like I kind of wanted to do orthodontics. It wasn't like.
You were 12, so. And
yeah, I kind of like, you know, like one of those 12-year-olds just like, okay, like maybe I want to do this one day, whatever. But, you know, you're not really thinking about like making money at 12.
Right. You actually started doing it before TikTok was a thing.
Yes.
Right. Because I remember the first time I heard TikTok, I'm like, what's that? But you had already been into it for a while.
Yes.
And since you started so young, what sort of guardrails were in place to protect you, like from your parents' perspective?
I think a lot of it was I was on private. So like when I was 12, probably up until about, I want to say 14, I was on private.
What does that mean? Because there's some of our listeners that are not familiar with social media and stuff.
Yeah, essentially I wasn't posting publicly. I was posting to just like, you know, my friends and family.
Okay.
And on Musically, I was on public, but just like posting with my friends to my friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It wasn't like, yeah, but on Instagram, I was private. So I was only posting to people that if they requested to follow me, like I accepted or denied it. And if I accepted it, they would see my post. So it was very private. It wasn't like public.
Okay, so that's good. And then later on, as you got more into it, I'm pretty sure your mom said she was like following you and checking on other family members were kind of monitoring it. So at least that guardrail was there. As a YouTube vlogger or aspiring YouTube vlogger myself, I can attest to the amount of time and effort it takes to not only film videos and edit them, even if they're like really short, they take quite a bit of time to, to get it together. And if I remember correctly, your last year of high school, you homeschooled so that you could have more time to devote to it, right?
Yeah, actually, junior and senior year,
junior
I
and
did
senior.
online.
Okay.
Yeah, because even senior year was the whole COVID pandemic, so I was, my other colleagues in school were also doing online school, but I actually did online school primarily. Well, firstly, because I got very severely bullied in high school.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And then I had to leave school, so I did online school. And then obviously I've been pushing for online school since like I've been friends with Cornelia because she was homeschooled.
Yeah. Yes. Just to go back quickly, you said you were bullied. Yeah. Like what were the kinds of things they were bullying you about? I find it so hard to believe because you're so cute and fun, and I mean, like, what could they possibly want to bully you about?
I don't know. In high school, I was an oddball. Like, I never really fit in. I didn't have any friends. The only friend I had was my boyfriend. Like, that's literally it. And I was friends with his friends, so I just really didn't fit in. Like, I was going through puberty back then. I hit puberty super late, where all the other girls in my grade were already, at braces, didn't have acne anymore, where I was kind of just getting into that. Right. I was also, like, super flat-chested, so, like, that was also, like, I was just very behind physically, so that didn't help my situation. And then when I started to get popular on Musically, and then it switched to TikTok, and it started going crazy. Like, that was now a target because I'm like, all right, here's this funny looking girl with acne and braces doing videos to the public, right, getting all these views and likes. Yeah. And so I was just a main target. Okay. I was like that girl, like, who does she think she is? I
had no idea. I mean, we were pretty close to you guys back then, but I had no idea.
Yeah, I was growing at like 100K a day on Musically. Wow, I think it just had turned into TikTok then, or it was turning into TikTok, and I was gaining so many followers a day, like over 100K a day. Right. And so at that rate of rapid growth, you can imagine kids in school being like, what? And then also at the time, now social media is cool. Now everybody tries to do it and make money, and, now it's a cool thing. But back then it wasn't cool.
Right.
If you even made videos for fun, you were weird. So, and the fact that I was doing it, seriously or, semi-seriously to, gain traction and upload to my followers and, get likes and views, that made me an even bigger target. Like, who the hell does she think she is,
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I didn't even know all of those details, but, I know there were some other things going on, but I had no idea it was in high school like that. Can you tell our listeners a little about what your day was like, just a regular day back then, before you got really popular, as far as the creative process, filming, and, how long would editing take and all of that?
Oh gosh, I mean, I would go to school and all day I'm thinking about like what video I want to make when I get home, and cannot wait to get home. I'm like not even focused on school. Like, let me get home. I just want to make my video. Because it was so much fun to me. It was such a creative outlet. And so when I got home, I would immediately go on my phone, do some trend research. Like, what can I do? I would always focus on it. And at that point, I was really focusing on starting to build my platform, not just to even make money, just for people to see my videos. Like, I just
The
wanted to
creative
entertain as
process.
many people. Yeah, I just wanted to entertain as many people as possible. I really wasn't aware of any financial gain, because back then it wasn't, that wasn't really like a thing. It was more
More for
YouTubers
fun,
making
more for
money.
fun, more for
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
yeah, and like when I was doing short form content, no one was really making like it wasn't like a job.
You kind of blew up before that, but then once
Yeah.
COVID came along and people kind of were relegated to being home, that kind of just made the whole creative stuff and people thinking about earning because nobody knew what was going to
Mhm.
happen, after a while of being
Right.
in a lockdown and stuff like that. Let's
Yeah,
see
that's
here.
when that like snowballed for sure.
Yeah. Was there a pivotal point or some kind of catalyst that made you become more popular?
Yeah, I want to say it was my editing videos. I would spend 8 hours a day editing
Wow.
like one video. And it
Wow.
was mainly because I was such a perfectionist. Like, I just wanted it to be perfect. And I also was so eager to learn. I learned all of the editing stuff. Yeah,
Self-taught.
I didn't, yeah, I didn't learn it from anybody. So it was mainly like me just playing around with different effects and like in a very creative way to just learn and try and like entertain my audience, because that was my goal, was just to entertain people. And yeah, I was very full on like editing mode, and so I would clone myself. I would do like these very particular music video type stuff. Like, I would take a song, and if it was talking about like battle scars or like like the lyrics, and I would actually like edit very specific things in the frame, and people really liked that because no one's ever done that before. No one's
Wow.
ever put hours like that into short form, aside from like Zach King. But it was more like personal because he edits like on a computer and stuff, and I was editing just on my phone. So people felt like they could potentially do it. And then I would also post tutorials on YouTube, but that would do really well, showing everybody how to do it, because it's very easy to do. It's just
Right, you just have to know what to
exactly.
do. Right, so the tutorials
Yeah.
came in handy. Wow. I mean, I was
Yeah.
always impressed because back in the day, you and my girls used to do your little videos, and I'm sure the ones that you did thereafter were even way more creative.
Yeah. You knew I was always into the
Yeah.
video stuff.
Yeah, of course. And they always loved going over to your house and doing the
Uh-huh.
videos and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
can you describe a little bit how things started to change after you got more popular? And remember, all that we're talking about here is sort of a guide for people trying to get into the whole influencer or vlogging thing.
Mhm.
So, this will be like a little roadmap for them as well. And then we'll get into some other
Yeah.
stuff after.
Yeah. I got an email, like a business email, and I would get emails from brands essentially like wanting me to make videos for them, because now I'm getting all these views consistently on my page. I'm getting all these followers. So essentially it was almost like a billboard, like a passing billboard that I could just put a brand on and get all these people to see it, right?
Right.
So at that point, I was getting emails from brands wanting me to do brand deals. I also got music promos, which they still do on TikTok. I haven't done one in years.
I understand the brand deals where they would ask, would they like send you their product and have you talk
Yeah.
about it essentially?
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah.
it was like app brand deals.
Okay.
So like I would promote like an app, which was even easier. It wasn't product based at first, and then it got into that a little bit, and which I was so thrilled about, because obviously if you're a brand sending you a product to do a video, it's so cool. It was the coolest thing to me. I've always wanted that.
Especially if it's a product that you like and you would
Yeah,
actually
and I
use.
would only take deals that I wanted, like, because
Right.
like I wouldn't want to promote anything that wasn't organic to me, and if I really didn't like it, even if it was a lot of money, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it started off with like apps, and then it got to the point where I needed to get like management. So my other colleagues, other social media friends, other creators that I was friends with, they were all signing with this one management called Talent X, and it became pretty popular back in the day. And I think signing with them was like the best thing I could have done. I was with them for like 4 or 5 years actually, and
Mm-hmm.
It was great because, they handled all of the influx, and I'm talking like a lot of emails of brands, and negotiating for me, which takes time. And I'm sure, like it even takes time to plan and edit and shoot and
Mm-hmm.
post and all that
Absolutely.
for videos. So, yeah, it was kind of like two jobs. And so delegating that work with management was really something that benefited me a lot when it got to the point where it was like too much. So I was with them for 4 years, and they just helped negotiate. They took 20%, which is standard management fee. And I did really well with them. That's kind of how it all took off.
Did you look for that management company or did they approach you?
They, well, I'm trying to think because it was so long ago. It was really just a mutual friend thing. So I reached out to them, I think, because I was like, oh, you guys work with so and so, so you want to work with me? And they were like, yeah. So, and that's essentially how it worked.
So at this point, you had already started, would you say, collaborating with other creators?
Yes, for sure. And like I would go to Playlist Live that was in Orlando. Obviously, like we're from South Florida, so like, it was easy for us to just drive up there. It was 2 hours and go there. And that's where I'd meet like majority of my creator friends at the time and collaborate or do whatever and just kind of, get information from one another and try and learn and grow.
Mm-hmm. So that management company, you said you stuck with them for several years. Did they just filter offers that were coming in or did they find you other opportunities?
Both. They did both because they also had other connections. They were located in LA. So I'm sure everyone knows, maybe listening, but LA is like the hub for all that stuff. And so they were, in the know with all these brands. So they were constantly putting me on intro calls with like huge brands like Victoria's Secret and Too Faced and this makeup brand and this, like it was insane. And so that really helped grow me as well. So not only were they negotiating deals that were just coming in my inbox, but they were also negotiating deals that they had relationships with to leverage my like social media and their connections with me. It was overall really good.
So how did that evolve? So first you went from being home, creating content with the different brands and stuff. But at some point, did it transition to where you were going to events out of state and things like that?
Yeah, it kind of all came at once, to be honest, because then I was getting invited to like meet and greets. We did a Minnesota meet and greet every single year. I think we did it for like 3 years or 4 years, I forget. And, I would have to pay for my own travel in the beginning and my own hotel and everything like that. And then, as I got bigger doing other events, there's so many that I went to like across the country, really. I can't name all of them, but they started flying me out, putting me up in a hotel and even paying me for just being there, which was really cool. So yeah, it just grew as I grew with social media. And again, like totally nothing that I really expected.
I just love the fact that your content is so, lighthearted and fun.
Yeah.
And even after all this growth and recognition,
Mm-hmm.
that you're still staying true to who you are as a person and, as a personality. And I find that so great. And as I've told you before, I just think it's so great that you just really stuck with it. And I admire that so much. And it's like
Thank you.
You've gone from this 12-year-old kid just having fun to this young woman that's like a boss lady in your own right,
Yeah,
So
it's pretty incredible, honestly. And
Yeah.
it wasn't always like so easy.
We'll get to the downside of it. Let's just enjoy the highlights of it,
Yeah, no, I got you. I got you.
And so at what point did you decide that, hey, things are going great and, I'm going to do this as a career, at least for right now?
Really like towards the end of high school, when I was a senior and I was actually doing dual enrollment. So I was going to the Palm Beach State College campus, taking classes, but also finishing up high school. And it became, obviously that's a lot for one person. But also like now I have social media that's kind of starting to really take off. I'm signed with a management, I'm making all this money, and it's like, now I'm like, all right, well, do I I kind of have to pick one or the other because I'm going like half and half and it's driving me nuts. Like that's where I was, I had to have a talk with my mom. And essentially she saw that it was my heart and my head was kind of, and my bank account was leaning in one direction.
Right.
Which is social media and, writing it out because I could always go, back to college if I need to or if I want to
At
at
any
that
point,
point.
at any point in your life, you can go back. There's like no restriction. It has to be in your 20s or whatever. You could go at any
Totally.
age. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And even like when, I wanted to go the orthodontic route, which was completely opposite of like what I'm doing, as my job currently right now in high school. So it was definitely like part of my brain was like, all right, we're working on school. But then whenever I was working on school, I really was torn because I really wanted to be doing something else, which was the making videos and they're two completely different sides of your brain. Your left side's creative and your right side's analytical and school and knowledge. So I really was like, I'm like not in a good place. Like I just need to pick one or the other. And so I remember the day my mom agreed to, support me in that route. And she's always, and I'm sure you probably remember this, like always push for college. Like there's no option. Like you're going to college, that's what you're doing. And so I always knew like if I didn't go, or I always had the perception, like if I didn't go to college, maybe I would be a loser or I wouldn't, that's kind of how she instilled it. And back then, which I'm saying back then, like I'm only 22 years old.
You've been in this business for a while. That's why I reached out to you because you're like a veteran at this stage,
Yeah. Back then it wasn't, it wasn't really an option. Like it was school or a loser, I mean, that's what my mom presented to me really. And there wasn't all this opportunity to make money online now and start your own business, even if it's not in social media, but like something like there's so many opportunities now. But anyways, so I remember the day she, I was like, yeah, I'm not, I can't do this anymore. Like it's either social media or school, but my heart's not in it. Obviously college in the States is a lot of money. It's so expensive. So she knew and I knew. And so I remember when we drove up to the college and I dropped out of all my classes, we were both in the car like crying because I knew it was scary, right? Because I'm like, all right, well, I'm going full force in this now. So it's like no turning back and I want to make everybody proud and even myself, right? But, I knew that growing up for 18 years, I was told one thing and now I'm completely doing the other thing. And so it was scary, but I don't regret it.
I'm glad for you that you did because, especially with social media, there's kind of like a wave. Things usually come in waves. It's just that yours has been really long and you put the work in. And, I'm really happy for you that it's paid off and it continues to pay off. And you just never know when it might end or taper off. So I say just keep going. And the beauty of it is that you've put the time in, you've put the effort in, and, I'm sure you've earned well from it. And you're able to save, be able to travel and do things. You're in such an amazing position for somebody of your age. And as far as I'm concerned, you made the right decision. And, I'm sure your parents agree. I've seen your dad in some of the videos and your brother and all of that. And I think you have a good head on your shoulders. So do what you need to do now while you still can in your youth. I mean, when I was in college, there were people that were in their 60s and 70s and older. So there's no limits. So how do you actually balance work with your personal life?
Yeah, that is very hard. And that's something that I have been struggling with for really since I got out of high school. It was a little easier, back then. I still love doing social media. I don't put too many videos out like I used to, but I feel like it's been tough to balance. A lot of it hasn't affected my mental health because at the time, when I was starting and when I, was growing, I was really doing it, because it's fun. But yeah, now I'm making all this money, so it's like great. But there's a point where it starts to become a job, and then I was like, well, I can't blend this with my life anymore because now I have to do this, but then I also need to have like a personal life. And so that's where it like really affected my mental health, I think, a little bit. So now what I try and do is focus during the week on like my business, you know, how I'm gonna get that going and started. I have a skincare line called Natics, so we're doing like a relaunch, and so I've been very like headstrong on that, and then also still maintaining social media and taking calls for that and making sure all that's good. And then on the weekends, I try and just forget about it all, but it's hard. It's hard when you work from home and you work on your phone, and then you know your phone's always with you.
So a couple things. As a graphic designer myself, I totally get
Yeah.
the whole creative process, and for me, I work better when it's not a job. When I'm doing creative stuff for myself, it just flows to the point where sometimes I'll be
Exactly.
in the middle of one project and then some idea will come in and I have to at the very least make a note of it because it's like I almost can't shut it off. But on the
Yep.
flip end, if somebody were to say, hire me to do something, it's like it creates a block for me. So I
Mhm.
totally get what you're saying there. And then with the balance, would it be better for you to maybe have a work phone and then a private phone? Then that way you could separate it more?
Yeah, it definitely would be. It's just tough because a lot of times with social media, like, you know, you come home from work from a long day and you go on TikTok. Like, but I work on TikTok or I'm always kind of studying it. So there's not really like an outlet for me besides like TV. So usually what I do is I'll actually throw my phone across the room. Not literally, but
Yeah,
like figuratively. I will throw my phone across the room and I will not look at it all weekend,
right.
which has been very, very beneficial. Like I'll read or I'll color or I'll be very present in the physical moment because that's really something that's helped ground me in my mental health and just kind of separate, okay, when I'm on my phone, I'm kind of working, you know, unfortunately, but like, but fortunately, I'm very blessed. But then when I'm not on my phone, I'm very in the present, like, you know, I want to be present
Even when you're socializing with friends and family, you want to be
off my phone.
right.
Yeah.
How much of your personal life do you share? Like, I know you create certain things and you do the brand stuff, but when you're creating stuff, like, or I guess maybe a better question is what's off limits?
Well, it's tough because like each platform is very different. Like with TikTok and Instagram, I'm pretty, you know, you don't see much in terms of like my personal life. You know, I just make relatable content, which many people can relate to because usually, you know, that content does well. So if it does well, people relate to it. So, you know, that's relatable stuff and tongue-in-cheek comedy. But in terms of like Snapchat, I do like vlogs on there. I haven't been posting every day as much anymore because there's a lot of things going on in my personal life that I do not want to share at the moment, that are very big and like, yeah, I can't talk about them on social media yet, but I usually like on Snapchat I will post like I'm eating a bagel. Or like I'm gonna go do this or I'm doing this for Natics today. I have 3 calls for Natics about marketing and graphics and all this stuff. So like I will be very vulnerable and open on that platform. So it just depends on the platform. It also depends on, you know, how I'm feeling in the day. Typically I do like to be very active and daily vlog on Snapchat. But yeah, recently I've been a little bit more closed off because, you know, there are things that I don't want to share, and it's hard for me to like share one aspect of my life when this is like another big aspect, but I can't share it. It's difficult. So,
Right. So,
if that kind of makes sense,
yeah,
but
that makes sense. So, currently, how many hours would you say you spend working?
let me think. I would say like 8, a good 8, which isn't like a lot, but
That's a full day's
yeah,
work.
I used to
Yeah.
do it 24/7. Like when I say 24/7, like I'm talking like from 7 a.m. to like midnight, 2 o'clock a.m. like in the morning.
Mhm.
Like but it wasn't work to me back then. You know what I mean? Now it's kind of like, all right, like I kind of see it as work, and I don't do well when people tell me what to do either. Like if, you know, my mom or someone's like, you need to post today, like you didn't post, like I won't do it because like I don't do well when people tell me things like what to do.
Right. It has to
I
be
try to,
organic and come from you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to be organic or else I'm like, I'll do it and it's like it's not me, and people know, like people aren't stupid, like they understand that, you know, I'm not acting right, like some people are like, if I do post like very unorganically, like what's wrong. Like,
Yeah. And that's another thing too. Like I'm trying to do with my vlogging and stuff, but just for anybody, because as much as I create, I also watch and consume and things like
yeah,
that. So
as
what
you
one
should,
at
because that's important.
right, and then the ones that I like are usually the people that are just being themselves, just really being authentically themselves, and I think that's how it flows best.
Yeah, especially nowadays, because I feel like, we're kind of getting over the whole, fake life on Instagram thing. I feel like when you're real and vulnerable, people relate to it more, and
Exactly.
ultimately you just do better, and like your career on social media is just, better.
I just think it's great that even after all this time that's passed, you're still the sweet, funny girl, and people just really gravitate towards that. So, as
Yeah.
far as your mental health, you touched on that a little, but how are you doing now mentally with all the recognition and all the demands
Mhm.
from, all these collabs and things that you have? I'm sure you've committed yourself to certain things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely still very driven. I've always been a very driven person. Mentally, I would say I'm in a much better place than I was a year ago. I was like a year ago, I was a mess.
How so?
I had like severe panic disorder and anxiety, which kind of came out of nowhere, but in at the same time it didn't, because I've always kind of been a very anxious person. I always overthink a lot, and it really, I don't know if it was so much social media. I think it was part of it. When you're so like, I don't want to say self-absorbed, because that's definitely not me, but when you're so focused on, you and your image on social media, it kind of takes a toll on your mental health, especially when you're spending hours and hours and hours and hours on social media all day. That's your job, and you have to look at other people and stuff. I think it's very mentally taxing of a job. It's not very physically taxing, and that's where a lot of people, I think they're like, why are you complaining, like you sit on your phone all day? But you don't understand until you do it. Like, it is a very mentally taxing thing to do.
I can imagine. So
Yeah.
I assume you got negativity, not that you deserved it in
Yeah.
any way, but how would you handle like negative comments or things like that?
Honestly, I would just ignore it. Like, it really didn't affect me. Like, I'm gonna be completely honest, it did not affect me at all. I just laughed, really. I always was told, like, from like growing up with my mom, even like first with school and stuff, like, oh, like people are gonna say things because they're jealous, and that's kind of the way I always thought it. So I was like, okay, they're saying this because they're jealous, so why do I care?
Right,
And
right.
it's kind of crazy, like, because a lot, and that's a big question I get, like, like, how do you deal with the negativity? I really just don't care. Sometimes I'll goof on it, and like I'll respond to comments, and or like, not really, but like I'll make videos sometimes, like responding to it. But you know what? I really don't care. Like,
I think that's great that you have that attitude because if you really feed into it, you could start looking at yourself negatively or believe what they're saying. And then as far as your anxiety, you said you're better now than you were a year ago. How did
yeah.
you deal with those episodes? Did you get a medical diagnosis and medical treatment of any kind, or you just kind of dealt with it on your own, or how did you deal with those situations?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to deal with it on my own, and I tried to deal with it as natural as possible. Like, I would go to Reiki sessions. I would also do meditation, of course. They always say that. Um, And then I would also try to, like, like smell peppermint and lavender and all that stuff that they tell you to do. Take a bath, put a face mask on. But you know what? None of that really worked for me. Really, like, at all. So what I ended up doing was, it got to the point where I wasn't eating and I wasn't sleeping. And I'm sure everybody listening, and I'm sure you know, when you don't eat and you don't sleep, you don't feel good. So I was really in a bad place. I actually I never talked about this on social media, primarily because it was really sensitive for me, and I wish I could talk about it more, and I should have, but I was just so, caught up. But I did go to a mental hospital for about a week and a half, I think it was, almost 2 weeks. And there it was, I was just trying to escape everything, because I was just stressed over it. Like, every little thing was stressing me out, even eating and sleeping, obviously. And so I was put on medication, and it helped me a lot. But I also really turned to God in that moment for me, and that was super important. That's like part of my testimony now. Like, God literally saved my life, because I genuinely did not think I was going to survive. Whether, unfortunately, I would have taken my own life, or I just would have, like, not survived of just not sleeping or eating. Like, it was that bad, and I've never experienced something like that in my life before, because I've always been a very positive, bubbly, happy
Yes.
person, like, genuinely.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people, like, would have never known. But it really was really scary, like, because I was having these thoughts, and I was like, I need to go somewhere, because I don't want to do something that's gonna, like, ruin my life, like, or like, something. So I needed to be somewhere, and you know what? It helped me a lot. I prayed to God every day, in that hospital, and God literally saved my life. I saw exactly why I was feeling this way. A lot of it was, outside environment, but I think the other half, and a little bit more, was my physical health, and understanding that, like, there are things that I am eating that are affecting me in my mental health. And I was always a pretty good eater, in terms of, like, eating healthy and eating pretty balanced. But when I was growing up, I wasn't, and I found out, like, I had mthfr.
What is
it's
that?
it's a yeah, it's a genetic mutation where I can't methylate folic acid. And essentially, I was taking raw folic acid in my new vitamins that I was taking, and essentially it makes you crazy like that. And I didn't know I had it. So there were things, like, I was doing health-wise that literally were,
Yeah, making
no
you
one
sick.
told me.
Yeah. So when you checked into this hospital, you said it was for
Mhm.
2 weeks, did you say?
It was like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks.
Okay. Is it something where your family egged you on to go, or you just made that decision and you checked yourself in? How did that process work?
I made that decision myself. They didn't want me to go. They were really scared for me to go. They didn't really understand what was happening. I couldn't really explain it, because I didn't really know. I was just a mess. Like, it was really bad, and so I wanted to do it. They actually didn't want me to go. They were like,
Wow.
"Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, you don't understand. Like, I'm not in a good place. I need someone to watch me right now. And ultimately, they were very proud of the decision that I made afterwards, of course, because, that was such a hard thing to do, like, admitting that you kind of need help, and literally going somewhere, obviously not the most comfortable place that anybody would want to be at, right? But, like, I knew what I needed to do, and I did it. And after that, I was completely different. And, I'm still growing every day and learning every day, but
That's amazing. See, that's why I admire you so much. It's like you took the initiative even when your own family was kind of against it. That's amazing.
yeah.
And just so our listeners can have an idea, because again, this whole talk we're having hopefully will help other people. What sorts of
Yeah.
things did they do with you in the hospital? Like, you checked in, and describe what the treatment was like, just so people have an idea.
I'm gonna be honest. The hospital that I was at was very good, according to some of the other patients in that hospital, because some hospitals are very, very bad, like, just terrible, and they just don't care. But this hospital was really unique, in that they had different activities that you can attend to that were supposed to help you, not medicine based. So, like, they had arts and crafts where you can go make crafts, and then they had, like, open discussion where we would talk about sensitive topics like depression, anxiety, eating disorders, all that stuff, addictive behaviors with drugs and stuff like that. And so everybody was kind of like very open about it. And I think that was really unique. I tried to attend as much of that as I could. Essentially, what really helped me in the hospital was the isolation process, because there I don't have, my mom or my dad asking me if I'm okay 25 days, like 25 seconds a day. Like I had to isolate. There was no phones, no technology. A lot of my anxiety came from hypochondria, which I've always kind of had, but it got really bad to the point where I thought I had everything. And like, when you think you have something, you have it. Like you don't have it, but like you have it, you know what I mean? You have the symptoms and everything, you go crazy. And that was part of it. A lot. There was a lot to it, but essentially not having a phone or access to looking up WebMD was very beneficial to my mental health, and also just like being out of touch with everything, because I feel like when you're on your phone, you're so not connected to not only the environment around you, but yourself. So for me, not having a phone there was the most beneficial thing for me. Not having access to internet, I really was just one with myself, and a lot of the work that was done in the mental hospital I did with myself. I would go into they had seclusion rooms essentially, where they actually put screaming people, but I asked to go in there and they let me in there. It's like a room that's like very quiet. It's all white. And I would go in there and pray to God. I would pray. I would do, deep breathing, meditation. I would try to become connected to myself again, because I felt like I really wasn't connected with myself and with God or with anything, with nothing. I was like totally not there. And that really helped me the most. And then also they had a bookshelf with a lot of books. Actually, I found this out from one of the patients there, but who has been to multiple mental health centers and facilities. And they said that most of them don't even have like books or anything or games. Like they are very, very, limited to what they can do all day, which is kind of crazy. They just drug them up and they stare at walls essentially, which is really sad. But for me, there was a bookshelf, so I took to reading. I also took to reading the Bible. Like I would read it every night, even though a lot of it's confusing.
The way it's written is kind of confusing. Yeah.
Especially the one they had. It was like over 1,000 pages. It was New and Old Testament. It was huge, very big and heavy. And I would always read it every night and always look to it. And I really think that God like took me out of that really, really dark place that I was in. And that's how I got better there, really.
So you said they gave you medication. So you were examined by a doctor?
Yeah, there was a doctor there. There was a doctor, like a physical doctor, and then there was also a psychiatrist, of course. And then there was nurses 24/7. And so a lot of it, like, I really wasn't on anything crazy. I'm still on Prozac. I'm on 20 milligrams. I've never went higher. I started off lower. I was on 10 milligrams, which is not therapeutic. And what that means is essentially you're not on a high enough dose to do anything.
Right.
So the highest dose that you can get on the lowest dose you can get on that's therapeutic for it to actually work is 20 milligrams. And I always said, like, I don't want to go higher than that, because I never really wanted to go the medication route. I obviously was at the point where I literally had to do something. And they explained that to me as in like a psychiatrist doctor way, like my brain chemicals are off, like you need something. And so that really helped me. I was also on Boost Bar 5 milligrams a day, which I'm no longer on. That was mainly for panic attacks and anxiety. So I was on very, very low doses. And then I was taking trazodone. They gave me a whole bunch of different sleeping medications. None of it worked for me. Like they started with melatonin. That did nothing. Literally trazodone, which is like one of the strongest sleeping medications in the market. It's like a tranquilizer. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Tranquilizer.
You know what I'm saying? Tranquilizer. Yeah. Thank you. Like it's so strong, and it did nothing for me. It just made me very anxious. So I was on so many, like they tried to put me on all these things. Nothing was working. I just prayed about it. And once like I felt God's presence, and actually it was crazy when I was reading the Bible, I opened up to, out of the 1,000 pages that there was, it was a verse about literally God putting you to sleep and just going to sleep. Like, not in a death way, but like sleeping like through the night. And I started crying, and ever since I read that and I felt that connection with God, I was good. I fell asleep. I was sleeping every night. I started to feel better. I was on the up and up. I started eating again. And it was really good. And that wasn't anything to do with medication. But I do think that, like, you know, if you do need it a little bit, I don't think that's a bad thing, because I struggle with that a lot. I always was like, I'm so against it. Like, I don't need, like, why would I need this, right? If, you know, but if you need it, you need it. Use it as a stepping stone.
Exactly.
Like, don't rely on it.
So you said you're still on certain meds. So at least for the foreseeable future, you're just going to continue on it.
Honestly, I'm going to stop it pretty soon here. I'm assuming probably after January, I'm going to start to wean off of it. I got off my Boost bar just fine, which is my anxiety medication. So the Prozac's really for intrusive thoughts and depression. And I do think that I've done the work, other than obviously the pill, to help me really understand and realize and manage the mental health aspect a little bit better than I was before. So I will be planning on going off of that very soon. I don't see myself staying on it, but it did help me when I needed it 100%.
So now when you do that, are you doing that in consultation with a doctor as far as the weaning process?
Yeah.
Right.
Of course, yes.
Okay.
A psychiatrist.
Okay. And throughout the process, have you had to do therapy, like see a therapist?
Yeah, I've seen a few. Honestly, like, I feel like therapy works for some people, maybe most people, but for me, I just didn't really see an effect on it. I'm a very strong-headed person, so I feel like when people tell me things, I listen, but I don't really get it until I have to deal with it. So I always usually figure things out for myself, which is kind of like a good thing, but it's not a good thing. But
I think in your case, it's a good thing. I mean, checking yourself into a facility and all of that. When I say you have a good head on your shoulders, is that you're humble enough and wise enough to know to listen and then take from that what works for you and what doesn't. Because some people just don't want to listen. They know everything and they don't do the work to fix their issues. Some people have resources and then they don't take advantage of it when it's offered to them. So a lot of this I was not aware of. This is why we're doing this talk, because as much as on the outside everything looks great and normal and wonderful, you're human. On some level, certain things affect you a certain way, but I had no idea it had been this extreme for you. So kudos to you.
I was excited to talk about it.
Yeah,
I haven't really got the chance to.
Yeah,
so.
And it's important because there are a lot of people struggling. My daughter struggles.
Yeah,
I think it'll be an eye-opener for her if she didn't know about it, because it's like I feel she really is often not in a good place, and as much as I try to help and give advice, it's almost not sinking in for her. So I feel, you know, it's important for her to hear this, and for so many other people out there. Some people aren't even aware of what they're going through. It's just they know they don't feel good, but they're not even aware of what's going on. So I think this will help people tremendously, not just getting into the, you know, the influencer or vlogging business, but also to help them to manage it and set reasonable expectations, because some people just get into it thinking it's just going to be, you know, bells and whistles and peachy and rosy. But, you know, it requires a lot of work, and you have to set good boundaries for yourself. Otherwise, things can go left or imbalanced.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's very important. That's something that I've learned tremendously over the past year even. And I'm still learning. It's very important, even in your daily life, like, to set boundaries with people, because people, you know, can, you know, unfortunately tend to walk all over you if you don't.
Exactly.
And it's just how it is, you know?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. More or less everything we've talked about is kind of the highs and the lows. Can you think of any other lows besides the mental health aspect of it? Things to avoid maybe, or things that they could do to make their journey as an influencer or a vlogger healthier and better and more successful?
Yeah, I would say some of the lows of social media also consist of other creators involved, or influencers. I hate that word, but it's what they call themselves. I don't usually like to call myself that because I think it comes with an ego a little bit. I'm like, I create content. That's it. I'm a content creator. But a lot of times I've dealt with pretty much, and I want to like be careful how I say this, but almost everybody that I've ran into on social media that I've worked with is very, very like inhuman. And what I mean by inhuman is very out of touch with reality, their own emotions, with, you know, kindness and what being human is about, and loving one another and caring for one another.
Are you saying they're cutthroat?
Very. It's worse. Like I did a movie back in last October, the October before that. We shot a movie, and I was with very, very, very popular people in the movie industry, like the Baldwins, Denise Richards, Dean Cain, like a lot of bigwigs, and that have been in the industry a lot. And I have seen more camaraderie and love and caring, you know, kindness with them than social media people. And I don't know, I guess it comes like people get egos when they have followers. I don't really get that. I've never had that experience before. Like I've never thought I'm better than anybody else because I have a following. I think that's really stupid because it can go away like that. And I don't think people realize that. But so I would say just be aware of other people and set your boundaries with other creators too, because I didn't, and I've been used left and right, up and down, diagonal, everywhere around.
Like,
doesn't feel good, and it's very demotivating.
Would you say clout chasers? Like some people get with you because they know you're popular, or
some of them, but like I'm gonna say even just like anybody in the business, I'm saying like I wouldn't say just clout chasers, like just anybody, like they just don't care. Like even if you're a little bit lower than them in their brain, they completely discard you. And people that I have been friends with, that I have like helped tremendously, like even like spend hours editing their videos and helping them and giving them advice, and then they surpass me in followers or likes or whatever it is. Like, I don't really care. And then I reach out to them or I see them somewhere in person and they completely disregard me. It's disgusting. And it's basically everybody, every single person that I've come into contact with. That's primarily why I don't like LA. A lot of people who start social media think, oh, I got to move to LA. I have to be surrounded by that. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't. You could do so much on your own. I feel like I'm a good testament to that because I did it all without living in LA and mooching off other people and collabing with all these other people. Like, I collab with some people, but not really. Like, I didn't do it to the point where I literally used them. Like, pretty much of everybody that lives in LA, I could say they all use each other, which I guess it's fine if you realize that, but it's just all very fake. It's all very superficial. It's not real. They don't actually care about you. I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it is.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I guess that's part of the learning process.
It's part of it.
But I think what's great is that you just did so much on your own from little South Florida. You had opportunities to go elsewhere, and essentially you've just created this business and your brand from where you grew up and all that. So it's like that's a testament to other people that might be nice to visit there, but it probably will be more competitive and more cutthroat, as you're saying, you know.
Yeah, so it's not necessary to move there because a lot of people think it is. A lot of people think, oh my God, I have 100K, I need to move to LA. No, you don't. I'm telling you right now, save your money because that's another thing. It's expensive as heck. Like just rent in a 4x4 box. It's like 15. Actually, no, I wish it was that cheap. I think it's like 2,500 a month. Like it's ridiculous. And the food and like just to even go down the street to get a sandwich is like a 40-minute journey because it's overcrowded and overflooded. It's disgusting. The city itself, I don't like it. I don't know how people live there, to be honest with you.
A lot of out of touch people, out of touch with themselves. So
they're so involved in their own self that it like they don't even know what like they don't even realize they're paying $30 for a sandwich. I don't know. Like it's ridiculous. It's crazy. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. That's like the biggest mistake I see other influencers make or content creators, because I just think it's unnecessary and it causes more harm than good. Because when you're around certain people, I feel like anybody can kind of relate to this. When you're kind of around one person or whatever, you kind of adapt to their behavior. And when you're in LA in that environment and in that energy, I feel like you randomly get the idea to get a nose job, or you randomly get the idea to use people for likes and views, and it just makes you like an icky person.
It's almost like you become robotic.
Yeah.
As I said before, and just from what you're saying, just, anybody out there, if you decide you want to create content, just be authentic. Like, do things that you really genuinely care about, and it will translate in your content. And if you're honest and open like that, there's always going to be an audience for it. It may not be a huge audience, but there'll always be people that it resonates with. I mean, even my modest following, I just recently hit the 5,000 mark. But my content, I don't really do anything that's current or things like that. It's honestly just things that I'm interested in. And there's so many things. I mean, I do everything from product reviews to cooking. There's so many things. But it's just, as much as I would love to grow even more, I just always feel I have to stay authentic to myself. And there's always an audience, even if it's just a few people. But I get maybe every 2 or 3 days somebody saying thank you for doing this video. It helps me. That's for me really rewarding. That's
the best feeling in the world. And then it reminds you why you do it. Like when I get those comments, I'm like, wow, like this is awesome. Like I feel so good. This is exactly what I wanted the response to be. And then you just want to keep making more. It's motivational. So
yeah. I think it's great that, even though you've been doing this so long, and there's times when you can go through what's called creative block, you still stay true to yourself, and the content, you keep it coming. That's great in itself. And what can we expect from you coming up?
Well, I'm working a lot on my skincare company, Natics. We're doing a whole relaunch, rebrand with new packaging, same beautiful, amazing formulas that some of you may have tried before.
Some people on my channel might not have ever heard of it. So tell us a little bit about the skincare line.
Natics is a Gen Z focused skincare line catered to any gender that you may be. It's genderless, so essentially we have anything for anybody. And then also it's very simple skincare, because I felt like skincare could be very complicated. There's like all these routines, like 11, 9, 7, even 5, 4-step skincare routines. I don't think that's completely necessary to take care of your skin. If you want to take care of your skin, we make it in a very easy and a very affordable way and not very complicated and overwhelming to do. I also am going to esthetician school right now, laser and electrology school, to focus on learning about skincare and learning more about skin, and to be able to give more accurate tips and tricks.
Did you know I'm a trained esthetician?
Are you really?
Yes, I am.
My God, I had no idea.
I am, yeah. I've been,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. I'm so eager to learn. I've always really been into skincare, so I just wanted to create something that was really accessible, easy to use. Also, all of our products are travel friendly, so like very easy to travel with. We have a patent pending product coming out in September. It's a cleansing tablet. So essentially you take one tablet, you put it under water, and it dissolves, and you wash your face with it, and it's gone. So one tablet per use. And so like if you're going on a weekend vacation or wherever, like to your friend's house, or wherever you're going, you can take a few tablets just to wash your face with. You don't have to take a whole bottle of cleanser. That's something that personally, as I traveled a lot in my endeavors, I have struggled with. Like, what do I do with my cleanser? Like, there's not really a travel-friendly way to do it, and eco-friendly too, because it's in a glass bottle, and we're gonna do like refill packets and stuff. Like it's just very earth-friendly and
environmentally
very
friendly.
all clean ingredients.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really fun. But yeah, you can go check it out if you want to have some nice skin and just take care of yourself because I think it's just really important. I just want to promote like self-care in general.
That's
It's
amazing.
important.
So, as far as the line itself, what does the line include? You said cleanser.
Yeah.
What else?
So we
Moisturizer?
have our cleansing tablets, we have our Nourish Jelly moisturizer, we have our vitamin C on the glow bomb, and then we have our turmeric face mask right now. In our previous launch, we had a hydrate on the glow bomb, which is just like a hydrating stick that you can take on the go if you have dry skin. Personally, I struggled with in school and got made fun of, and I would literally take a whole bottle of moisturizer to school. We're relaunching that end of either this year or next year, depending on how the market is. Depending on like if people really want it, we'll launch it again. But for right now, that's going to be like a winter product, like towards the drier seasons. And then right now we're focused on our vitamin C on the glow bomb, turmeric face mask, and then our moisturizer and cleanser. So
That's
super
amazing.
simple.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because I've always, I mean, I've
Yeah.
been, in skincare since 2008.
I
So,
believe it. Your skin's beautiful. So is Cornelia and
yeah.
Demetria's. I've always said that. I've always
Yeah.
been like, their skin is perfect. Like, I'm obsessed.
That might be genetic stuff, but I've just always been, involved in it and,
That's good.
retailing stuff. So, as far as the skincare, you said it's for Gen Zers.
We're primarily focused on Generation Z because I feel like there's really a gap for that. I mean, there's some skincare companies that focus on it, but they don't really do a very good job. In my opinion, like their products suck. We have like actually good ingredients and not something that's going to actually internally harm you. Like
Yeah.
no shade, but like really.
Right.
And we're just trying to promote self-care and taking care of your skin, but not in like a harmful and overcomplicated way,
Right. As far as the company, did they reach out to you? Was it a collab or you just decided to do
No,
it?
no, no. This was from the ground up. I built this from the ground up with my business partner. I did not partner with any like company because I don't believe in that. Like I'm an actual founder of the company. Like I built it from literally nothing. The idea, the concept with my business partner, of course. And his help and his collaborative efforts, and he does logistics and I handle marketing and funding, and we're a really good team and we've worked so hard for so many years on this, and I'm really proud of it. And I'm actually very proud of the fact that I didn't just slap my name on some private labeled brand, because a lot of creators do that, and it's really kind of sad.
Yeah.
Because they market it like they made it, they didn't make it. It's like really.
So you collaborated with a chemist that specializes.
Oh, of course, yeah. We have a very, very reputable lab in Illinois. They're very, very good, and we used obviously their chemists and all their resources to create all these formulas and test them, and everything's been in the works for a while. So we're really proud of how everything turned out, and honestly, I really wouldn't use like any other skincare. A lot of Gen Z companies we noticed are not affordable, like at all. I think The Ordinary, they're not really marketed to Gen Z specifically, but they're like the only other affordable skincare for like under $30. It's crazy. Even our lab manufacturer with our vitamin C on the glow bomb, it's a luxury formula that we created. And she's like, you guys are only selling it for $18. Like we could sell it for a lot, but we're not going to because that's not the goal.
Right. The good thing is that if it's affordable, more people will be able to afford it, and hence more profits for you in the long run. And you're doing it from a good place. And whenever you do things from a good place, you always see the rewards of it, even if it takes longer.
Yeah, I don't think it's right to upcharge skincare that much because I feel like it's not a luxury. It's a right to take, like, to self-care. Like, it's a
necessity.
It's a necessity. Yeah. Like, you have to, take care of yourself. And it also affects, your mental health. If you're not taking care of your physical self, like, going to the gym, eating right, drinking water, taking care of your skin, taking care of your body, you're not going to feel well mentally. It's all connected. So I really am, like, an advocate on, just, trying to self-care, make yourself, feel good, right?
That is awesome. And yeah, I am so happy you were able to spend some time talking to me. We've covered so much, and I'm happy that, you were able to be so open and honest. And I really think, this can help so many people out there in so many different ways.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell our listeners how they can follow you on social media, because some people might not be following you yet.
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. My Instagram is Gabby Murray with 2 Y's at the end, all one word. And then my TikTok is Gabby_Murray with 2 Y's at the end. And then my Snapchat is GMurray11. I do post like daily vlog stuff on there. I haven't been as much, but now I am going to start again very, very soon once I talk about a little bit more things that have been going on personally that I can talk about. But yeah, I'm super excited for all of that. And thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, I'll include your socials and everything in the description section below the video, so, people can reach out. So, well, thank you, Gabby, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to hear upcoming podcasts. And please share with family and friends. Thanks for listening.